August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bull PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
There's never been anything like it, probably in terms of an event, let alone soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. But I thought it was incredible. It was 4 times greater than any FIFA ever held. And it's probably about 5 times, actually, they're telling me today. So we're very proud of our country. We're very proud of the job that was done by everybody. And all over the world, people have come, and they've loved our country. And I think they both played well. I would say Spain played better.
The World Cup is in the can. We'll talk about all that and more on today's Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. This has become Middle East Mondays because we always have Senator Jim Talon on. He'll join us at 4:25. We have a potential terrorist attack. We're actually monitoring that as we speak. That's breaking news this afternoon in New York City. Election Day in 15 days in Missouri. Chris Arps, there's so much going on. It's a good thing we're here to help folks make sense of it all on their way home.
Manic Monday, July 20th. Amazing 10 more days left in this month. And a couple of weeks until the August primaries, and then before you know it, it'll be the November election. So time is moving on. And, Tim, there are no shortage of news stories for us to cover.
There's not. Chris, I saw an amazing statistic. FIFA hauled in over $9 billion. That was just directly to, I guess, what FIFA's take is for what they get to collect on ticket sales and promotions and things. Probably untold billions of dollars flowed into the United States of America. And Chris, if I saw one story, I saw dozens about the fact that, the world has a better view of the United States now that we've hosted the World Cup because all the Europeans and folks from all over the rest of the world realize the United States actually is a pretty darn good place to hang.
Freest country in the world. We've got capitalism. If you've got a good idea and you got a little gumption, you can make $1 billion or $1 million. We have freedom. We don't live in places like in Britain that don't have air conditioning. We all have homes, most of us. We live in neighborhoods. They don't have that in a lot of countries around the world. We've got a Second Amendment. We've got a First Amendment. And we've got ranch dressing.
And Buc-ee's. Yes, those are some of the highlights indeed. And, we laugh about these things, but all of the things that you mentioned and more are what makes America great. And people around the globe have been lied to about the United States of America, courtesy of the international press, similar to our national press. And I'm so glad, number one, everything went well. There were no major kerfluffles that I can remember. A couple little scandals on the field, right, with some calls that were made. But it all seemed like it wrapped up really tidily and well, and people were pretty excited. And even if you don't care about soccer, I think everybody got a little touch of World Cup fever because some of the games truly were interesting and exciting. I still don't understand the rules.
I don't either. I got to tell you, I didn't know this till this morning until I did a little research. Spain is a straight-up soccer powerhouse. They were the reigning champions, Tim. They set a record for the longest undefeated run, 38 games, and they are now the reigning champion of 3 of the sport's biggest soccer tournaments. They won the World Cup, of course. They won the Euros, and they were the Olympic champions in soccer as well. So don't mess with Spain when it comes to soccer.
Indeed. And all the rumors that the fix was in for Messi, Lionel Messi, and Argentina apparently was not true because they lost yesterday. Messi was visibly emotional. I mean, you put your heart and your soul into some of that. He's almost 40 years old. He's probably thinking, I'm not sure if I have another World Cup in me or not. But one of the most decorated soccer champs of our lifetime, Lionel Messi, he had to settle for a silver medal yesterday. Argentina coming in second.
Yeah, I mean, he was visibly shaken because this, as you said, Tim, was probably going to be his last World Cup. But also, too, I mean, you've been playing for a month now. You have dreams of winning the World Cup, FIFA, whatever they call it. And to come up a little short is heartbreaking. We see that, in the World Series. We see that in basketball championships, the Super Bowl, the team that comes up a little short. It's very emotional for those players because they put their heart, soul, and everything into it. And they want to hold that championship trophy. And they came up a little short
I'll tell you.
this time. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Indeed. 1-0 was the final score. Although everyone who watched the game said that Spain pretty much dominated and Argentina was largely on defense the whole time. But the World Cup is over, Chris. The Open Championship occurred over the weekend as well. There was lots of controversy in the Open Championship, courtesy of the very performative and entertaining Bryson DeChambeau. But a New Zealander. Did you know they had golf courses in New Zealand?
I would think so. It's summer year-round down there.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
Guy named, not a household name, guy named Ryan Fox. All the golf commentators called him Foxy. Apparently that's his nickname. The New Zealander, he wins in epic fashion. It came down to the final putt on the 72nd hole, and he sunk it. He won. American Cameron Young. I'm a big Cam Young fan. I think he's a great American. But the New Zealander won. And, you like to see that every once in a while. Ryan Fox, nearly 40 years old, kind of been a journeyman golfer. He's not one of the big names. He probably doesn't have the biggest sponsorship endorsements. He's been traveling the world trying to scratch out a living making golf. Well, he hit the big time yesterday, taking home the claret jug. So it was a big sports weekend.
And we got to give a shout out to our great producer, executive producer, and movie critic. He called it.
Yes.
Odyssey was the breakout hit of the summer, $265 million worldwide gross. And here's the thing, too, that's really crazy about this is that because the Odyssey did so well, that people are rushing out, buying the Odyssey, the book. They're buying the tape to listen to it. Sales of that merchandise has exploded as well.
That's very impressive because that's a classic. That is a Greek classic. It's actually a poem.
Yeah. Not
the easiest thing to read and digest, I can tell you. I had to read it either in maybe both. Maybe I read it in college and high school. But, it's not written like a novel in today's world. And so I think that's really impressive. I hope folks get a little culture out of that. Yeah. And, Chris, it survived the critics through the weekend as well. As we mentioned on Friday, courtesy of Joey's Movie Reviews, if you put any trust in the whole Rotten Tomatoes schematic, coming out of the weekend now after its launch, still holding firm at 95% from the critics, 97% from the audiences. So the 3-hour runtime didn't discourage the fans from giving it 2 big thumbs up.
And here's some of the sales figures. All translations of the Odyssey are up 76% up to date. The checkouts on the book lender Libby have jumped 217% from this time last year. And the Odyssey audiobook on Spotify are more than up 300%. So a lot of interest being driven by this movie and that classic poem.
Well, that's impressive. Maybe the whole podcast thing, audiobook thing, will make it more approachable to some folks on a long car ride. Joey, were you surprised at all by any of these numbers or what the critics' response was in general, or based on what you saw and heard and what you reviewed, this was pretty much what you expected to happen.
It is exactly what I expected. I've never been wrong in my life. There was a headline I saw, I guess it's true, before the movie came out. It said there were not going to be any screenings for influencers. It was going to be critics only. And they knew what they had. They had a movie that critics were going to love and fawn over. And that's what I'm seeing in my Letterboxd feed is everyone giving it 4.5, 5 stars. And also replays of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is up 3,000% on TNT. I don't think that movie was playing before last month, and now it's playing every day, and that's because it is actually an adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey, which I did not catch on first viewing back in 2000. I just rewatched it myself, and I said, oh, I get it now. Yeah, if you mean to a cow, then you're going to get your comeuppance. It makes sense now.
I have a question. Aren't you an influencer?
I am a critic who happens to be on a radio station. I think influencer is a big booby girl who gives out drinks at bars for free. I don't know the actual job title. Yeah, of course. I'm not a great dancer, so I can't be an influencer.
That's executive producer Joey V. He'll have another movie for us at the end of the week. Can you believe it? It's July 20th, 2026. Early voting begins this week in Missouri because we have an August 4th primary. I know many of you are. No, not you all. You're all the choir. You're an educated audience, but you need to tell your friends, your family members, your colleagues, your coworkers. There's an election coming up in 2 weeks and 1 day. Very important things on that. We've been talking about Amendment 4 and 5. I know many of us, if not all of us here at this radio station, have recommended a yes vote on both of those. Please tell your friends and family members to get out and vote Tuesday, August the 4th. We'll continue covering that as well. Oh, Chris, I wanted to mention there was a alleged terrorist attack in New York City today. Did you see that?
Yeah, I missed that one. No, I didn't.
Well, the only reason I know about it was because I had an email in my inbox from National Review. They sent out an alert, very little details. We'll have to maybe see if Jim Talent has heard anything about it. An anti-ICE extremist sets fire to a New York City federal building.
I did hear that. It was near where they were having immigration hearings. So, of course, they'll say it's a right-winger that did it because I don't think it's a coincidence, as they mentioned, that it was near the immigration court. I did hear that.
So there you go. The left continuing to hate on and wanting to defund the police and basically cast the United States of America into complete disorder and chaos. So that's where they are. Chris, we've got Jim Talent coming up today. As we mentioned, he is a former U.S. Senator from the great state of Missouri. He's the chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Lots happened, as always, over the weekend in the Middle East and beyond. And we'll ask Jim, are we heading into a final phase of military activity? What happens with the Strait of Hormuz and more?
Yeah, over the weekend we lost 3 service members, possibly a 4th. The 4th person is missing in that drone attack on a base in Jordan. One of the people that were killed, service members that were killed, he was killed trying to unarm a Iranian drone and apparently exploded. So I think the death toll from this Iran conflict is up to 17, and we don't want to have any deaths when it concerns war and our service members, but it's the price that is paid, and we send our condolences and thoughts out to the family.
Absolutely. Thank you to all of you who have served. We support you very much here, and for all of you who continue to serve and who have families of service members and so forth. Chris, I ran into a fella that we interviewed last week. He was at the wedding I thought he was going to be at. Joe Steiger sends his best.
Joe Steiger, good man.
And he said to us, hey, I want you to tell Chris and Joey and everybody at the station, thank you so much. The officers listen to the station, the rank and file. They really appreciate the support that News Talk STL gives to our fine men and women in blue.
Oh, we backed the blue here. A couple of weeks ago we had, or last week was it, when we had the police corps colonel from St. Louis County talking about their efforts working with businesses. I think they have a charity event that was coming up, and we were able to promote that. So we backed the blue here at News Talk STL and on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, no doubt.
Joe wanted us to know that that they do know the station. They are fans of the station, and they appreciate very much that we stand behind law enforcement and our military. Of course, we have the military flag up behind Joey that you can see every day honoring the Freedom 13. That's the kind of radio station we are. And finally, Chris, we had a birthday party yesterday at the station. Pretty exciting. 5 years.
It was, and I was able to enjoy a little of the food that was left over for lunch today. It was at Vangel's restaurant. I think I found me a new restaurant because I love Italian food, and They had some good burgers and some good parm sandwiches and just a all-around good time. News Talk STL, 5 years on the air. It seems like only yesterday, and we are looking to 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 more years on the air, and we thank all of you for listening to our station. We had a listener come in before our show.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we
that
did.
won a T-shirt, and asked her how she found the show, and she said she followed us over from the old station, and she is a listener every single day.
It's really fantastic. Entering our 6th year now. Yeah, we had our big party a couple weeks ago, so we had a little internal celebration for the staff and the advertisers and the investors, and so it was really good to see everybody. And shout out to listener Susie, not Susie Moore.
Yeah.
She can have a T-shirt anytime
Very
she wants.
close last name, too. For a
Was it
second, I
really?
was like, is that your? No, that's close. I won't say her last name.
Listener Susie, shout out to you. Thanks so much for following us over here and listening to us for so many years. If you would like to win a limited edition America 250 News Talk STL T-shirt, you can. Simply go to newstalkstl.com to enter. Newstalkstl.com to enter. That's all you have to do. You just go there. You enter. You don't have to do anything else. And if you have your name pulled out of Joey's magical hat, how do you do this?
It's all exported in an Excel spreadsheet, and then I use Google number generator, and it just spits out a number that coordinates with an Excel spreadsheet.
Fancy.
Yeah, we got Diana, Mark, John, Carol, and Allison as the 5 winners that I sent emails out to today.
Very good.
And she specifically, I think, came to see Joey because she shook Joey's hand and said, hi, Joey, and the whole nine. So, Joey, you have a fan.
Wasn't as interested in us. But.
Yeah, I sent her the email, had my beautiful signature at the bottom, and she knew that she could contact me if she had any problems.
Congrats to all of our listeners. Keep entering. We've got a bunch of these. When these shirts are gone, they're gone. As Chris says, they're collector's items because they are a special limited edition News Talk STL America 250 5th year anniversary shirt. So, there's not going to be another 250 America celebration. We're hopefully going to have a 300 and beyond, and we're not going to have another 5th anniversary. Hopefully we're going to have a 10th and a 15th and a 20th and all that. So grab these shirts while we still have them. Once they're gone, they're gone. And that's all we got to say about that. Mm-hmm. Very good indeed. Oh, and finally, Chris, Britain, the UK, speaking of the UK, they have a new prime minister. We can ask Jim Talon about this fellow as well.
We actually we got a audible called. Senator texted me, and he isn't actually in Cleveland, so he won't be doing the show today. So
no.
Maybe that's something we could have done off air. But yeah, we won't have Jim Talon.
Well, maybe we can talk about this Burnham character. I don't know much about him. I don't know if you do either. So. Well,
I know they call him the King of the North.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it sounds something out of the Game of Thrones.
It does. What is he? What is he, Jon Snow?
I don't know. Yeah, that's his nickname.
Well, interesting. Well, Chris and I will toss around all of the international issues of the day. We'll try to bring you up to speed as best as possible regarding the mayhem in the Middle East, what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, the UK's new Prime Minister Burnham, and more. We'll cover that and then some when we return here on today's Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1, News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. First Alert Weather Day continues for Tuesday. Then we'll get sweet relief by Wednesday. So in the meantime, overnight, a low of 80 degrees. An isolated storm in the morning is possible. Very muggy, a hot high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. You may notice the humidity dropping a little bit later in the afternoon Tuesday, but we really get relief by Wednesday. A high of 83 degrees and partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime. News Talk STL right on my phone. Anywhere.
Just had Hanson's out to our homestead last week. Yep, we did. We absolutely did. I went to hansonstree.com, make sure I had the number, even though I have Chad's number in my phone. I had to call the office line. I had to book an appointment. We have a big, beautiful elm tree, and I hope we can save it, but I may have waited too long. I thought it was the cicadas, but apparently it was that emerald ash borer. Doesn't that sound horrible? Well, that's what this poor elm tree has. It's not completely gone, so we had Hanson's out. We had the arborists out to take a look at it. They said, yeah, kind of on the borderline, but we can make an effort here. And so, they did a very reasonable price to try and save this tree. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that's what they do at Hanson. So if my point is, if one of your trees starts looking maybe not quite right, don't wait like I did. I should have known better. Get the Hanson's tree folks out. If it's a big, beautiful tree that you want to try and save, get them out there lickety-split. They also do a lot of other great things. They've got awesome organic mulch by the boatload, by the tractor trailer load at Hanson's. They have huge mounds and piles of it, and they are always restocking, so you can get mulch here to take care of your mulch beds, keep out the weeds, beautify the landscaping around your business or your home. You can apply for hassle-free estimates at hansonstree.com. You can make your payments online. You can apply for 6 months same as cash financing for those larger jobs and so much more. Hanson's provides tree service, expert tree service all across eastern Missouri, St. Louis, the Collar counties, and beyond. And now Hanson's is providing all of their services, every single one of them, at the Lake of the Ozarks as well. So if you buy a lake lot and you need it cleared out, let Hanson's do that job. They've got all the proper big toys to make light work of some of the toughest jobs. No job too big or too small for Hanson's. They service homesteads. They service businesses. They've worked at the zoo after that huge tornado blew through there last year. Chad had to get down there and clear all that stuff out, and they did it really well while keeping an eye on the big cats. Hanson's Tree Service, tree care, green resource recycling, mulch, grinding, land clearing, and so much more. Found 24/7 with that emergency service line right up there at the top of the page at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. Tim Whitney has spent nearly 24 years serving Jefferson County through the Sheriff's Office. As a former SWAT commander, he has led under pressure, made critical decisions, and understood what it means to be prepared when leadership matters most. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, Tim helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability. Tim Whitney brings the kind of real-world executive experience Jefferson County needs in its next county executive.
I'm Tim Whitney. Jefferson County isn't just where I've served. It's where my wife and I are raising our family and where we've chosen to build our life. I'm running for county executive because I believe our county's future matters. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home. I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Paid for by Friends of Tim Whitney, Heather Missy Treasurer.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Maybelline, why can't you be true? Oh, Maybelline, why can't you be true? You done started doing the things you used to do.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We deported. Now these are not including self-deportations. These are just ones that we had to go through. We had to arrest, we had to go through the system, and we had to deport, and they tried to stay inside the country, and they had no legal status to do it. 442,637 total deported last year in 25. To date, well, these are yesterday's numbers. We have 403,294 that we've done in 2026. Our arrests are up. We're hitting single-day records every single day. But what we've done is I've turned down the temperature of the stove to try to get it correct without boiling over.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and great numbers there reported by Mark Wayne Mullen, Department of Homeland Security Secretary. But Tim, if you look at 423,000, that's a sizable number. But when you look at the 4 years that Joe Biden was in office, they're talking about 5-10 million illegal citizens came in this country. We've got a lot more work to go to get these people out.
Yeah, almost 500,000 people is a staggering number. And then when you put it against what you said, but that's like the numerator, that's the number on top, out of the denominator, which is 10 to 15 million. That's a staggering amount of people. And I can't believe they were able to move that many out. But to your point, they got a lot more work to do.
Yeah, we talked about this before. I think the conservative estimate was 5 million people came in during Joe Biden's presidency. And I remember us talking about that. That's like the equivalent of the population of the state of Missouri, all coming through our southern border. We talked about how, what was his name? The DHS secretary before him, Mayorkas, was on all of these different shows saying the border is closed. We're doing everything we can. The border's not open. We know he was clearly lying. You heard Mark Wayne Mullen in that clip also say that he is turning down the temperature a bit. He's trying to find the right temperature. And I think that's in relation to these 3 deaths that have occurred between ICE agents and illegal immigrants. They announced last week that they were going to stopping people in their cars, but President Trump did a quick turnaround on that and said, no, we're not. So a little miscommunication there between DHS and the White House. But there were 3 people that were killed. One of them was in Houston. The Harris County DA said that this legal alien's name was Lorenzo Salgado Arujo. They're saying that drugs were not found in the vehicle, and that is contradicting what the FBI says. But, I think I will wait for the final investigation because Houston's, forgot what the name of that county is very, very liberal. They're basically a sanctuary city, so I wouldn't trust anything that the Houston DA is saying personally.
Yeah, I'm not saying we adjudicate people before all the facts are in, but typically these situations don't rise to that level unless somebody has thrown a match into the gasoline. And so they don't just occur when everybody is minding their own business and there's zero legal activity afoot. So, yep, things get out of hand. Yes, people make mistakes, even in law enforcement, but usually these situations go from bad to worse because there is some sort of illegality brewing underneath the surface.
And the third death that happened recently, I don't think you can blame this necessarily on ICE, Tim. A 20-year-old was in a car with other occupants. They got stopped by ICE. They each ran out of the car, started going in different directions. This guy was hit by a semi-truck and died on the scene. Now, of course, the liberals are trying to say that's ICE's fault because he was fleeing and all of that. But, hey, if you don't have anything to hide, if you're here legally, why are you running from ICE agents? Why are you running from law enforcement? And, I hate to sound callous and cold when I say this, but I don't know if I have a lot of sympathy for someone running from the police across a busy highway and you get hit by a semi-truck.
That's the thing. You could be the most legal citizen in the world, but if you're going to dart across an interstate highway or a busy traffic way, the odds are you're going to get struck. And that's no one's fault except this individual who chose to make that. That was their decision to run into traffic. And so there you have it.
Yeah. And this is something that was reported a few weeks ago. We didn't have a chance to get to it. We know about Ilhan Omar, her questionable marriage to her brother, allegedly to get him into the country legally. We also know about her claiming she was a millionaire and then had to redo her ethics reports and claim now she's worth like $30,000. Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed that the Justice Department is investigating Ilhan Omar for allegation fraud. She has faced questions over her immigration status. And as I said, also about her family's ties. And, Tim, You know, the vice president is also part of this task force investigating fraud, and we've seen the massive fraud in Minnesota regarding these COVID relief programs and the Leering Center? Leering Center. She may be implicated in that scheme as well.
I mean, it's not an easy mistake to say that you're either worth tens of millions of dollars or maybe you're not. I mean, it's one or the other, right?
Exactly.
And so I don't know who she wants to blame this on now, because the liberals like to blame all of their problems on somebody else. Did a staffer fill out the paperwork wrong? Did a family member? Did a campaign assistant? I don't know. But she obviously filled out one set of paperwork that put her net worth in the tens of millions of dollars. And then the next time you see the report, like you said, it's more like $30,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And I remember Tony talking about this on his show. One of the assets that they listed was a winery in California. But there were not a website for the winery, not a phone number, nothing. But it was bears some fruit. It should. Ilhan Omar and her ilk hate America. You know, she came from an S-hole country, comes over to this country, becomes a congresswoman, gains some type of success.
Yep.
And you spend all of your time talking about what a terrible country this is, and you want to turn it into some socialist bastion. I don't understand the mentality of these people. I really don't. It's 10 times worse where you came from, but you want to come over here and say how terrible is this country and turn it into a socialist country, which we've seen through history. That system never works.
And we can speak about immigration differences here, and that doesn't make us any sort of xenophobe or racist or whateverist, because there have been plenty of ethnic groups that have come to this country in waves over the last 250 years, and the large majority of them have assimilated into American culture and become part of American society. And many of them, if not all of them, have retained their ethnicity, right? Don't we always talk about Little Italy or Little Chinatown or whatever you may have it? So people can retain their heritage and their ethnicity and still be Americans. And then there's the ones that don't want to assimilate. They don't want to be Americans. They've come here for some other purpose. And if you believe the political manifestation of this, which many of them are tied to, the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, their agenda, Chris, is to destroy our institutions.
Exactly. I think what started us down this road of non-assimilation of illegal immigrants, both, is when we started doing the dual language thing. You know, why in the world would somebody who, I guess they're legal to vote, but you can go to a voting poll and can have your ballot in Spanish? I've never understood that. I never understood why we have in some of these sanctuary cities and out in the Southwest that we have road signs and public signs that are in Spanish. How is that supposed to help someone assimilate when you have their natural language out for them to use instead of what English is? There's no incentive at all to assimilate.
Yeah, at least learning the language helps you become part of the brotherhood and sisterhood of America. And we see that in other industries as well. The aviation industry, the international language of the aviation industry just happens to be English. So they can all understand each other and become part of one system that's working together. You would think that would be the minimum that people would want to learn when they come to this country is the language, which, the Missouri made English the official language many years ago, and I think other states have as well.
Next month, of course, Chinese President Xi is scheduled to come to the United States for a summit to meet with the president. That should be a very interesting meeting, especially what happened last week when the president said that the Chinese are stealing all of our voting data. The Chinese embassy wasn't happy about that. They said that this was false and it was defamatory. But one thing that I hope that the president does speak with the Chinese leader about is this news report that China is not repatriating their people that we're trying to deport. They're being very, very deliberately slow about that. We've talked many times about, I was listening to a podcast where, China has this birth tourism industry. They send thousands of women over here. They have babies that are become American citizens. They head back to China. And I saw this report that said that something like 10 or 15 years, Tim, there will be 20 million Chinese American citizens in China who have no interest, no link to this country at all. But, 20 million people, if they all decided to come over here, maybe not all at once, but over time, they could really change some elections. And I wouldn't necessarily think that they would have capitalist American values.
Yeah, talk about a ticking time bomb. And there was no one happier about that Supreme Court decision on the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship than President Xi.
Yeah.
So he may he may overlook Donald Trump's harsh language on election, because Xi may say, well, I know you said that about me, Mr. President, but you'll be gone in a few years, and the Supreme Court decision may be here for decades. So it's very and Chris, we had other stories during the Joe Biden years. Remember, we reported on this. Tens of thousands of able-bodied, working-age Chinese males, just all by themselves, no families, coming over here in droves, again, for what purpose?
And we also had reports of military-age men from the Middle East.
That too.
Were sneaking into the country as well. There were many reports of prayer rugs and Korans being found in the desert. We haven't captured any of those people. They are still here. We know that during 9/11 that they were able to perpetrate that crime because they were a sleeper cell. They were among us, working and living with us. And then, when they got the call, they decided to hijack those planes and commit 9/11. Are these future terror cell people that we have in this country that are just waiting for the word from Iran or Hezbollah or Hamas or whoever to create havoc in this country? Who knows?
Yeah, if you don't think that countries that consider themselves our adversaries and even our enemies don't think of doing things like this, then I guess we can sell you some oceanfront property in Arizona, because they are doing it. The Chinese are known counterfeiters. I mean, you ever been on Temu?
Yeah.
They're known for stealing things. They're known for reverse engineering stuff. They're known for their espionage. Why wouldn't they, during a 4-year period where it was easy as pie just to waltz across any of our borders and walk under a country, why wouldn't they have an operation to do just that? And it appears that they did, all while, as you mentioned earlier, Mayorkas is saying, oh, no, the border's absolutely locked down, sealed tight.
And, to segue into China and you talking about them stealing our technology, which is what they do. Look, America has a lead in the AI race. I don't think that's disputed. But China is catching up quickly, Tim. There was a news report last week that they have come out with a new AI model that's just as good as the AI that we have right now. And it didn't take them a long time to do that. Chinese, they have some very smart people over there, but I'm sure this wasn't just on their own initiative. They stole a lot of our data and created an AI model that is comparable to what we have right now. And that's very scary to me. And it terrifies me that we have this hysteria being fueled by China and other foreign
Chinese
interests
propaganda
against these data centers. That these are the worst things in the world. They cite environmental concerns. They cite that these are surveillance centers. I get a lot of criticism when I put positive things up about AI. Why don't you have one by your house or blah, blah. And let me just say this out loud. One of the reasons why I don't have any fear of data centers, not because I don't live near one, is because my wife was a data center IT manager for 25 years for a Fortune 500 company. I've talked to her about data centers extensively, what they do, what they don't do, how harmful are they, and she assures me that data centers are not the horrific monster lurking under the bed that everyone says they are. So, I could listen to the Chinese propaganda, I could listen to the propaganda from the liberals telling us how terrible these things are, or I can actually listen to my wife who worked in IT, that worked around data centers, that can give me that information. Plus, you and I, Tim, visited 2 data centers in Kansas City a couple of months ago. We saw it firsthand for ourselves. These things aren't noisy, loud factories. The noise was very, very minimal. And we've seen how the one that we visited in Kansas City, they've built their own transformer. They're not even on there. They use the grid, but they have a transformer where they are doing their own electricity, and the water usage, they're just recycling that water.
and they're not scary, and all of you are using them. Every single person who is listening to us right now is using a data center. If you're streaming News Talk STL on our app, you're using a data center. If you're making up memes to attack data centers, you're using a data center.
Yeah.
And here's an analogy I've heard from other people. Just like communist China wanted us to not engage in our own energy future and to buy all of our windmills and solar panels from them, it's the exact same situation. Communist China would love for us not to build our own data centers, so we will be reliant in the future on communist China data centers.
The thing that just really brought it home to me is when we were visiting the data center and they told us to take out our phones and look on the part of your phone where you can see how many apps you have. I have 78 apps on my phone, and I think I was one of the lowest number of people with apps. That data has to be stored somewhere. 78 apps. That's a lot of information.
On one guy's phone.
On one guy's phone. Tim, I looked at the pictures on my phone this weekend. I have 6,000 pictures on my phone.
How many gigabytes is that?
That data
right?
has to be stored somewhere.
It does.
Just imagine you have thousands of pictures on your phone. That data has to be stored somewhere.
So if you don't want to use your iPhone or your Android device anymore, if you don't want to have easy access to the internet, if you don't want to be able to travel easier, buy stuff easier, live your life easier with your hundreds of apps that you have and all the things you do, well, then I guess we can go back to living in caves and rubbing sticks together. Yeah. But this is the future. And even if, one person is scared to death of a data center, it ain't going to stop the rest of the world from moving forward. And neither one of us is advocating that we just throw all the planning and zoning restrictions and regulations and out the window and give these guys all the tax breaks they want. No, tax the crap out of these data centers. Make them pay for all their own stuff. Make them make sure they have closed loop systems for their water. Make sure they pay for their own electricity. And make sure that they are able to donate the fruits of their profits back to your local government so you can lower your property taxes.
Should we jump down off our soapbox now?
I think we should.
All right.
I mean, we look, I work for a lot of different companies that are in support of these things, but that doesn't change the fact that I've always been a pro-tech, especially American tech kind of guy, and you have as well.
My wife's in IT, so I had no choice.
And so it's like being afraid of moving from the horse and buggy to the horseless carriage.
Exactly. Well, we know that Iran, of course, is trying to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Well, the world is preparing for a future that Iran may no longer be able to threaten. That is the topic of Chris's Corner coming up next. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A First Alert weather day continues for Tuesday. Then we'll get sweet relief by Wednesday. So in the meantime, overnight, a low of 80 degrees. An isolated storm in the morning is possible. Very muggy, a hot high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. You may notice the humidity dropping a little bit later in the afternoon Tuesday, but we really get relief by Wednesday. A high of 83 degrees and partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story, 1969, Senator Kennedy survives driving off the Chappaquiddick Bridge. His passenger dies.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Have you had any issues with your roof this spring, early summer? I guess we're right in the middle of summer right now with all the storms that we've had throughout the last many months. Are you worried about your roof? Are you wondering if it's maybe time to fix, repair, replace your gutters or your siding? Got the one-stop shop for you for your roof, for your siding, for your gutters. Correll Roofing Company. They're online at CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's 2 R's and 2 L's. CORRELL. CorrellRoofingCo.com. Independently owned. Yeah, this is not some national giant conglomerate. This is not some storm chaser outfit. This is a business that is located right in our listening area. They're in the county of St. Charles. They're just down the road from us. I've been to their offices, beautiful offices. Curtis Correll and his family own this business. So it's locally owned, it's family owned, and it's independently owned. Come on, support these local, independently owned, family-owned businesses. They are the bread and butter, not only of our economy, they help drive News Talk STL as well. Correll Roofing Company. Curtis Correll is in his third decade now of roofing in our region. He knows it extremely well. He knows the weather patterns. He knows where the storms go. He can come out and inspect your roof lickety-split real fast and tell you whether or not it's time to replace your roof. And if it is, he'll handle it from that point forward. You don't have to worry about anything. He'll work with the insurance company. He's got all the contractors. Peace of mind these days, knowing that something's going to get done, it's going to get done right, and it's going to get done timely. That's what Curtis Correll and the entire crew at Correll Roofing Company pride themselves on. That and so much more really is a family touch. It is definitely the Correll difference that you get. Go online, check them out. You can the email address and the cell phone, or the email address and the business office are right up there at the top of the page. You don't got to go hunting for them. Have them out. Get an inspection today. CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's CorrellRoofingCo.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. I love Capriotti's, and you will too. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester, McKnight, and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Let's get real. Here's the truth about eliminating Missouri's income tax.
I'm here with Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. And Camelia, one of the things I'm hearing about Amendment 5 is the worry that it's just going to give politicians a blank check in Jefferson City to raise taxes or to tax a lot more things. Should voters be worried about this?
Actually, it's the opposite. Amendment 5 does not automatically raise any taxes. Any future changes still have to pass the legislature. And more importantly, if lawmakers change the sales tax code, they have to make equal reductions in income tax. It's designed to make our tax code more fair for working Missourians and also to keep the government in check. So no, Amendment 5 actually protects taxpayers.
Learn more at afpmissouri.com.
Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The Pentagon has identified 2 U.S. service members killed in the Middle East. The Defense Department says Private Isabella Gonzalez and First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan died in an Iranian strike in Jordan. Another service member also died during a controlled detonation of an Iranian drone in Iraq.
The president last night, Diane, spoke about the deaths of these service members and said that the United States was hitting Iran for a 9th consecutive night and doing it in honor of these fallen service members.
Well, we feel very badly, but you know, those great people, those great patriots were out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
For decades, Iran's greatest strategic advantage wasn't its economy, it wasn't its military, it wasn't even its proxies, it was geography. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most important energy choke points. Roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow waterway. Every time Iran threatened to close it, oil markets reacted and world leaders took notice, and Tehran gained leverage. That leverage may be slipping away. According to Goldman Sachs, Gulf nations are investing billions of dollars in pipelines and infrastructure designed to move all around the Strait of Hormuz entirely. By the end of next year, those projects could replace nearly half of the oil now shipped through that strait. By the end of 2028, that figure could exceed 60%. Think about what that means. The world's energy producers are no longer betting on peace, they're betting on resilience, and that changes the strategic equation. Every barrel of oil that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz is one less barrel Iran can hold hostage during a crisis. Every new pipeline reduces Tehran's ability to shock global energy markets. Every alternative route weakens one of Iran's most valuable bargaining chips. That has implications far beyond the energy market. It gives President Trump greater leverage in any future confrontation or negotiation with Iran. Why? Because Iran's repeated threat to disrupt global oil supplies becomes less credible if the world no longer depends on that choke point. Negotiations are always influenced by leverage. If Iran loses the ability to send oil prices soaring by threatening the Strait of Hormuz, it loses one of its strongest cards at the negotiating table. History shows that countries don't spend billions of dollars building alternate routes unless they believe they'll need them. Whether that threat comes from war, terrorism, or chronic instability, the message is unmistakable. The world isn't waiting for the next crisis. It's preparing to make sure the next crisis carries far less leverage for Iran. Sometimes the biggest geopolitical stories aren't found on the battlefield. They're found in the infrastructure being built before the next battle ever begins. And that is Chris's Corner.
Boy, everything would be over if there was no Strait of Hormuz or if there was no choke point. That's all we talk about. It's all we hear about day to day. So I hope everyone in the oil industry is working overtime to try to find a permanent fix to this major problem.
And they have to. I mean, the world, unfortunately, to the greenies, they want us to have windmills and solar batteries and all of that. But the world runs on oil. And
for now.
for now. And the world needs a secure and steady source of oil to keep Western economies and really the world humming. And you can't have this theocracy in the Middle East there, Iran, controlling that crucial choke point, as it says right there in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's encouraging to see that these companies and these countries are going around the Strait of Hormuz and building these pipelines. It's very encouraging to see that by next year, 60% of that oil could go around the strait. So that's something that's very encouraging. Not going to help us right now when it comes to the gas prices. The AAA reported that gas is now back, average is $4 a gallon. But we know that is because of what's going on in the Middle East. Once that conflict is finally settled, gas prices will drop down once again very quickly, as they did. Godspeed to all of our soldiers and airmen and everyone that's over in the Middle East. President Trump, do what you got to do. Get this war over, end this regime.
Yeah, I think it's time to finish the job that was started. I know Donald Trump was trying to look. He's the first president to take actual meaningful action in the Middle East. And I know he was hoping to have this resolved by now. The Iranians have enough guerrilla warfare tactics that they can keep that straight front and center and a continued problem. So I know the president was looking for the diplomatic solution. Once again, we learned the Iranians cannot be trusted. Donald Trump gave him a chance. He's been more than patient. Time to finish the job.
You know, I predicted in a Chris's Corner a few weeks ago that Iran may initiate an October surprise. Tim, I think the October surprise came a couple of months early. I think this action, they're trying to put pressure on the president during an elections, thinking that the president won't take the full action that should be done. I think they're going to learn the hard way that that is not the case. Indeed. All right, we've got Speaker Stump Speech coming up.
Scarcity versus prosperity.
Then we're going to speak with Todd Bensman at 523. He's a senior research fellow at the Border Security and Immigration Center. We'll ask him about the president saying that 200 and something plus thousand people are on the voting rolls as non-citizens. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
And doesn't 4 also kill majority rule?
Yup. Creates minority rule, or just 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one Missouri congressional district that block any citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass common-sense conservative citizen ballot measures.
That's crazy town stuff.
And we've needed our citizen ballot measure power to pass some big conservative stuff, like outlawing tax hikes without voter approval, lobbyist reforms, and term limits for career politicians.
No way I'm letting a tiny fraction of liberals derail our conservative power. I'm no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Pay 4 buttons or inch per care governance.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. At Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor, you're receiving protection for your home, your family, and your peace of mind.
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Gas prices are going up once more.
U.S. gas prices have hit an average of $4 a gallon once more. That's according to AAA and came as the U.S. and Iran launched more attacks. The average price a year ago was $3.14 a gallon. The price is a national average, meaning drivers in some states have been paying well over $4 a gallon for a while now. Prices vary between states due to factors ranging from nearby supply to differing tax rates. People around the world are also dealing with high gas prices as a result of the war. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance have welcomed their fourth child.
The second couple announced the birth of their newborn son on social media on Sunday. Alec Neil Vance is the first child born to a sitting vice president in more than 150 years. Alec joins older Vance siblings Ewan, Vivek, and Mirabelle. The vice president's growing family is in keeping with his passionate advocacy for Americans to have more children.
That's Washington correspondent Andrew Stewart reporting. The U.S. military has a new update on recent attacks in the Middle East. Willie Nelson reports.
U.S. Central Command says another American service member has died during Operation Epic Fury. The service member was killed in northern Iraq during the controlled detonation of unexploded ordnance from a downed Iranian attack drone. CENTCOM also says unidentified remains have been recovered in Jordan following last week's Iranian attack, with the identification process now underway. Willie Nelson, The Whiteout.
And this evening, the United States has conducted a new round of airstrikes targeting Iran. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 307 points, the Nasdaq dropped 12, the S&P 500 lower by 14. More at townhall.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. First Alert weather day continues for Tuesday. Then we'll get sweet relief by Wednesday. So in the meantime, overnight, a low of 80 degrees. An isolated storm in the morning is possible. Very muggy, a hot high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. You may notice the humidity dropping a little bit later in the afternoon Tuesday, but we really get relief by Wednesday. A high of 83 degrees and partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Trisha Burns never answers the call. Trisha Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Trisha Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Trisha Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Trisha Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bull PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are.
And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We don't think that anyone should have a constitutional right to double-digit returns on their investment.
No one should have a right to a double-digit return on their investment.
No one has a right.
I think his man bun is too tight because it's squeezing the logic out of his brain to say things like people don't have a right to invest something. Do they also not have the right to lose 12%? Is there going to be a bottom floor to protect me at the same time?
That was the DSA co-chair in the first half of that clip. And then the second half was him getting absolutely eviscerated by one of the business panels on one of the business networks about the fact that centralized planning, which is what he was advocating for, never works.
You know, Democrats always like to quote the great African-American poet Maya Angelou when she said, when people tell you who they are, believe them. And when we tell you that the Democrats are socialists bordering on communists and some of their ideas are communist, and you hear idiot statements like that, believe them.
Mm-hmm. Socialism is not cute. It's not cuddly. It will absolutely destroy America. And I'm going to continue along that same vein. The title of today's Speaker Stump Speech references that and also talks about these two big amendments we have before us in 2 weeks. Scarcity versus prosperity, the title of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
You told J.D. Vance you're open, your vote is up for grabs.
Yes, my vote is in play because it can't be Trump running. So I'm not living in communist America. I mean, I know the talking point is that, well, it's not communism, it's socialism. Okay, I've read the quotes from the DSA platform, from their own mouths. Don't tell me I'm not seeing what I am seeing. And DSA, again, they say things like, takeover of key industries, government. That's communism.
Well, those two clips we just played go pretty well together. And how about that? Chris Arps and Bill Maher basically saying the exact same thing at the exact same time. When the Democrat Socialists of America tell you what their platform is, believe them. Mm-hmm. And Bill Maher, who is a old school 1960s era Democrat hippie liberal. Look, Bill Maher is not becoming a conservative. Not in his lifetime. He's pretty much said that. He is a dyed-in-the-wool. He's a Jewish American. So that's probably one of the main reasons why he's like, wait a minute. I thought the Democrats were the party that cared about the Jews, right? Well, not any longer. They hate Israel. It's extremely anti-Semitic the way they're acting. But even more than that, Bill Maher is saying, how about as an economic structure? So forget about, for a moment, where they are on ethnic issues and those issues. How about economics? Bill Maher's like, well, they're crazy there too. That's Bill Maher. That's Bill Maher singing like a canary in a coal mine as to a party that he's pretty much supported his entire life, and very ferociously, I might add. He still can't stand Donald Trump. You heard him basically say that. But he's saying, Trump's going to, despite what some of you lunatic leftists believe, Trump is going to term out of office. He is going to leave the White House. A lot of us are joking about Trump 2028 because we know it makes you all hysterically froth at the mouth. And so we do it to get a rise out of you. But there will be somebody else running for president in 2028. And how about that? Lifelong Democrat liberal, hippie liberal, Bill Maher is saying, don't presume that I'm just going to endorse someone in the Democratic Party. And why is that a big deal? Because as crazy as you might think Bill Maher is and unhinged as he is, he speaks to a lot of people. He speaks to a lot of liberals every night. And if Bill Maher starts saying, lifelong Democrat, lifelong liberal, can't support this version of the Democratic Party anymore, that could, I believe it could, affect their chances at ever winning a national election ever again, especially if more people like him, like Bill Maher, join him. What Bill Maher is focusing on there is the economics and how wrong the DSA is on economics. You heard that clip with Mr. Man Bun there. He does have one. I'm not saying that to be funny. He actually does have one. Look him up. The DSA co-chair, he's basically saying, nobody has the right to a double-digit return on their investment. Are you kidding me? We all dream of that, don't we? Don't you want to open up your 401k several times a year and look at it and see double-digit returns? That's what the stock market is aiming towards. Now, over the course of its entire lifetime, it's averaged somewhere between 6 and 8%, but we do have those nice high years in the double digits that balance out the low years. Are you telling me that we're going to ban all that? We're going to prohibit it? Well, then guess what? The low years are they're going to drag down the potential high years because we won't be able to allow to have them anymore. And we're all sure going to be equal. Oh, we're going to be economically equal. We're going to be equally miserable under socialism, which always devolves into communism. This also made me think about this debate we've been having on our two big constitutional amendments here in Missouri over the last several months. The election is now only 2 weeks away, Tuesday, August the 4th. And I'm working on the campaign. I've made no bones about that. Why? Because I've always believed in eliminating the income tax. It was one of the things I did. It was one of my hallmarks as Speaker of the House, where we got that bill across the finish line twice, overrode Governor Nixon's veto, signed it into law, and we began ticking down our income tax. And it has gone down to 4.7% from its high of 6%. Not going to rehash the history. I want to talk about the here and the now. I was inspired by Camelia Peterson, one of the ladies I've gotten to know really well over the last few years. She's a frequent flyer on this radio station. You hear her often. She makes a lot of appearances, especially on the morning show. She's the legislative director for Americans for Prosperity. AFP, by the way, is hosting another telephone town hall tonight. I'll be helping moderate that. We're going to have the auditor. There's a guy who knows about numbers and economics and how to carry a 1 and how many zeros and such and so forth. Scott Fitzpatrick will be our VIP guest tonight on this statewide telephone town hall that you can listen to. Go to afpmissouri.com. afpmissouri.com. You can submit questions online as well. He's going to be joined by Representative Bishop Davidson, the author, one of the main authors of what is now Amendment 5, and by Ron Freeman, who is a former NFL NFL player, lives over in the Kansas City area. He's helping us out on this effort as well. So Camellia has been working on Amendment 5 as well, and she wrote a very philosophical post over the weekend. And you don't see a lot of philosophy on Twitter X. Usually Twitter X and Facebook are sound bites and snapshots and things of that sort where everybody tries to get as low as they can go in the gutter. But Camellia stepped back and looked at Amendment 5 from like the 35,000 foot. And here's what she said about it. This country was founded with an abundance mindset, right? Ever since this country started, we've always thought about going further, doing more, making more. It's integral to the American dream and to American success. One of the key differences, she says she's noticed, between the supporters of Amendment 5 to phase out Missouri's income tax and the opponents is this mindset. Opponents operate from a fear-driven scarcity mindset, not unlike the leftists did during COVID. Supporters, on the other hand, see the potential and the abundance and the shining vision of a golden era for Missouri by moving to a fair tax system while eliminating the income tax and providing property tax relief as well. Camellia says it's a day and night difference. One outlook, the abundance perspective, is what made America great and is the philosophy of all of our innovators, our builders, and creators. It rewards production. The other is the black-pilled child of Woodrow Wilson, the hated president of the early 20th century, the 1900s, who installed the income tax, and we've never gotten rid of it since, that punishes the builders and the workers in our great nation. President Trump's own administration came out with a study supporting the prosperity that passing Amendment 5 would bring Missouri, and you can read it here. It's at whitehouse.gov. I know that our own Dr. Aaron Hedlund, who we just interviewed this past Friday, was part and parcel of writing that report. That's what Camellia said about the difference. It's the I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go for gold. I'm going to be forward thinking versus the very selfish, self-centered mindset of, well, I have mine. I don't want anybody to touch it, and I'm not willing to do anything to try and bet on America's future. I'm definitely for the former and not the latter as well. And when you look around the country at the 50 laboratories of democracy, they're all making bets as well. Well-placed bets, well-educated bets, well-researched bets. And the states that are moving ahead, the ones where all those one-way U-Hauls are going to, that we talk about all the time, those are the states that are also stepping down and eliminating their income tax. They're trying to reduce the local property tax burden as much as possible. But in order to have some sort of revenue, otherwise you have complete government anarchy. Look, as much as I'd love to say no taxes, no how, nowhere, well, you can't run anything on that, much less a government. So what should your tax system be? It should be as low as possible. It should be as flat as possible, as broad as possible, and as fair as possible. The fair tax is as old as conservative economics itself. Some of the most ardent conservative economists of not only our country, but of the countries before us, the Adam Smiths of the world from Scotland and beyond, the Bastiats, the Hayeks, they've all believed in they've all advocated for a more consumption-based system versus one that punishes people's work and their labor. I hope you all out there are believers in an abundant system as well. Like what Reagan said, America's best days are always ahead of it. And that's always what we believe in and strive on, being satisfied with what we have and using that NIMBYist attitude of, well, I got mine. Now, I really don't care if you get yours. How about we all make Missouri grow again, keep up with those neighbors, and hopefully now sprint ahead. Vote yes on Amendment 5 and Amendment 4, too, on Tuesday, August the 4th. Today's Speaker Stump Speech, scarcity versus prosperity.
Please vote.
Indeed.
And hopefully affirmative in Amendment 4 and 5. We've seen Amendment 4 where these out-of-state billionaires, out-of-country billionaires have basically bought the Missouri Constitution. It needs to be reformed. Don't listen to the ads. Do your own research because the ads, I got to say, are brilliant. I mean, they turn it around to make it sound like this
Absolutely
is actually
backwards.
a conservative issue to be against it when it's not. So do your own research.
Yeah, are you going to believe the ads or are you going to believe the folks who you've been listening to for years on St. Louis conservative radio? And I know some of the other stations as well. I think pretty much from what I've seen, all of our competitors, who we're all friends with, they're all advocating the exact same thing. So on this, we can all lock arms and stand together because it's really for the future of the state. And if every single conservative that you've listened to over the last many decades is saying the exact same thing, maybe we're all on to something, indeed.
I hope so.
All right, Chris, it's 5:19. We're gonna have a guest. Hopefully Todd Bensman doesn't cancel on us. I don't think he will.
No.
He is a senior research fellow for border security and immigration. Chris, we've been talking a lot of immigration today. Well, we're going to bring in an expert to talk about these recent ICE shootings, these unfortunate instances, but the importance. Why do we have an ICE? Why do we have a border patrol? Should we just defund them and dismantle them like the left says? What would that do to our national security? We will ask Todd about that in light of the fact that we had that major incident occur today in New York City. All that will be broken down next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9 94.1. This is News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A First Alert weather day continues for Tuesday. Then we'll get sweet relief by Wednesday. So in the meantime, overnight, a low of 80 degrees. An isolated storm in the morning is possible. Very muggy, a hot high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. You may notice the humidity dropping a little bit later in the afternoon Tuesday, but we really get relief by Wednesday. A high of 83 degrees and partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
This Susie Moore segment brought to you by Harpo's Bar and Grill in Chesterfield. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Breaking news, a suspect is in custody after smoke filled the outside of a Manhattan immigration court. In a statement, the FBI says a person with a history of, quote, anti-ICE activities set off what it's calling an incendiary device. Now the FBI's New York Joint Terrorism Task Force is investigating.
The barricades that you see are there all the time now because that building has become such a focal point of immigration protests. So there is a ring of those fences around the entire perimeter of 26 Federal Plaza.
Boy, talk about ripped from the headlines. We've got our next guest who's going to be able to talk about this issue that just happened, this major issue that happened today. Todd Bensman joining us from the Heritage Foundation, Senior Research Fellow there for Border Security at their Immigration Center. Todd, good afternoon. Welcome to News Talk STL.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we interview a lot of you fine folks at Heritage, so thank you for joining us today. Todd, how about that? We just had another real, it seems, Todd, that the left talks about these things in theoretical concepts, and they never want to focus on actual real-life events, like an anti-ICE rioter who was arrested today after starting a fire outside a New York City federal building. We're talking about real-world consequences of doing things like, thinking about dismantling or defunding ICE, right?
I mean, I've been going on media really for the last 10 days straight since these ICE shootings. And what I've been saying all along is that in these blue districts, Democratic precincts, you have a lot of officials and leaders of the community urging people to defy ICE, to get in their way, to evade, to run, that they're illegitimate, they're discreditable, they're not real police, run, hide, and fight, basically, with ICE. And so I've been predicting all along, all week long, as recently as yesterday, that there was going to be a lot more of this sort of thing when you have incitement like this. And unfortunately, whatever happened this morning in New York, Blue Precinct, is not the last of it. We've had multiple terror attacks. Just the week before last, a judge sentenced a group of domestic terrorists to hundreds of years collectively in prison for attacking an ICE facility in an organized terror attack with guns and everything. So, unfortunately, this isn't the last of it.
Todd, of course, last weekend we lost Senator Graham of South Carolina, and he has a great legacy. But I think a lot of critics would say one stain on that legacy was the bill that he helped pass with the Gang of Eight back in 2013. It was called the Border Security, Economic Opportunity, and Immigration Modernization Act. A lot of folks call it basically a amnesty bill. What is the proper type of quote-unquote comprehensive immigration bill should we have, and what would the Heritage Foundation support?
Well, I don't think we necessarily have to have comprehensive immigration reform, especially anything that provides an amnesty-like policy toward millions of people that snuck into the country and stayed illegally. But what Heritage does support and has supported in the past are policies, bills that would tighten up loopholes, particularly 3 or 4 of the big loopholes that have left undone have acted as very powerful magnets on illegal immigrants coming in over the border. They want to come in because they'll get parole, for example, this abused authority in the INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and quite a few other loopholes as well. So it's close the loopholes, eliminate the magnets that bring them in. That's the gist of it. We don't need some kind of a horse trading situation that involves a promise of enforcement later in exchange for amnesty. We saw that in '86. They tried to do it again. It'll fail again if they keep trying that. people don't want it.
Todd, your thoughts on those latest incidents that you've been discussing, this traffic stop situation, from what you've been able to glean, from what you've been able to examine. Is there an issue there where the ICE agents need some more training in this area, or is this just, or are these incidences basically conflated and exaggerated because they do involve ICE? I mean, I'm sure we have thousands and thousands of police encounters every day, and I bet every traffic stop does not go well. These seem to get magnified because of the situation at hand. But so where does the truth lie on this, and what advice would you give the administration if they were to ask you about how to handle these matters moving forward?
I mean, I would tell them to keep their mouths closed until the investigation speaks. And that's pretty much what they're doing. Unlike the pro-illegal immigrant crowd who are out there immediately calling it murder, not knowing any of the facts at all. I do wish that they had been wearing body cams. I think the two sides, ICE and the open borders types agree that they should have body cams. ICE wants those body cams badly because they would very quickly exonerate or at least, eliminate the truth about what happened. So they're going to have to do it the old gumshoe way, interviewing witnesses and that sort of thing, looking at building cams. From now on, they are going to have body cams at these traffic stops. That is being fixed right now, is my understanding. For that very reason, we want body cams. But honestly, if it turns out that one of these individuals just hit the gas and tried to kill an ICE officer, what would you expect him to do? Of course. I mean, unfortunately, you have to stop the threat, and that's what they're trained to do.
Todd, for years we've been hearing in this immigration debate the term anchor babies. Many of these anchor babies, quote unquote, are now in their 20s and 30s and beyond. For me personally, I am against any type of legalization. I would support that if these folks went into the military and served a certain period of time, that they could gain some type of legal citizenship, but absolutely not citizenship per se. What do we do with the anchor babies?
Well, there really is not. I mean, the anchor babies, quote unquote, are sort of innocent in this because they're just simply born here. It's the parents that may have lied on visas, may have lied to immigration officers about their true purpose for coming into the United States. That's fraud. It's prosecutable if you can catch them at it. One of the big purposes of having an American citizen child, 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court just upheld it, is that it enables the family, the rest of the family, to get on public welfare for 18 years. So that's one of the biggest draws about it for people that are staying here with the kid. The other type are people who will come in, have an American citizen baby, and then leave with the baby. But the baby will be an American citizen, so in 20 years when they're ready to retire, they can have that adult child do chain migration and bring them in as well as the whole family. And that's really the point of it. And it's not legal if you are lying your way to do that. So that's really what the problem is. The kids are pretty innocent. I mean, what are they? They're a baby, right?
So, and by the way, folks, we're speaking with Todd Bensman, Senior Research Fellow, Border Security and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org. So, Todd, in further exploring this issue in light of the recent birthright citizenship case, what's on the available menu of considerations next for our federal government? Because we've heard that there is such a thing, despite what the left may want to say. Now that the case is over, people are basically saying, "Oh yeah, birthright tourism, it's definitely a thing." So, what do we do about it?
Well, for starters, you can contemplate a policy where border inspections staff can take a look at an individual who's coming in at 9 months pregnant on a 5-year visa, of some sort, and turn them around and have a policy that allows them the discretion to do that. There are other things that can be done as well. On visa applications, you can maybe ask them to check a box and sign under oath that they're not beyond a certain pregnancy stage. And if it turns out that we find out later that you were beyond that, but you testified otherwise, that's a crime. So there are things like that that can be done. There is discretion. You are not admitted into the United States until, whether you have a visa or not, until a border inspections agent clears you and accepts you into the country at the gate. They can turn you around at any time, bring you in for secondary inspection, investigate what this is really all about, that kind of thing. And then furthermore, there are organizations like for-profit enterprises that specialize in defrauding the system in the sense of lying about the true intention of coming into the country, and we can go after them and investigate and get them on fraud charges as well. I suspect we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the near future.
Todd, illegal immigration has been a problem in this country for decades, mainly because of a lack of enforcement, and we've seen the problems that have come with that. It seems that Europe is also beginning to tire of illegal immigrants. The EU is talking about efforts to open deportation centers outside of the bloc. Can you talk some about that?
I mean, that's been on the table for years and years. They talk a good game. The Europeans talk about doing that because they have trouble forcing countries to take their nationals back. So they either claim they can't deport or they don't really try in a lot of these countries because there's a lot of pressure for them not to. So I'm skeptical about schemes like that because nobody ever really follows through. If European countries were to follow through and send a bunch of people back to, say, Rwanda or something, they've never lived there, or Sudan or places like that, it would act as a huge deterrent. Nobody wants to spend $10,000 or $15,000 getting to a European Union country only to lose it all and end up back in Sudan or in Rwanda or Albania or something like that. That's a big disincentive. People will not pay the money if that's happening on any kind of scale, but it's not. The Europeans talk about it, but they never actually do it.
Todd, is there anything pending in Congress at all regarding dealing with our immigration situation, or is it just such a divisive issue that definitely not the Democrats, but is there anyone in the Republican Party got any ideas on this? Is there anything in the Reconciliation 3.0 bill to assist out on the immigration front, or things pretty much log jammed on this topic in Congress?
I mean, there are some efforts. There's an old bill that was written a few years ago. Chip Roy is behind it, the congressman from Texas, and a bunch of others. He's got a bunch of co-signers. It's a great bill. It fixes a lot of the problems that we have that are loopholes that are powerful magnets. Would close those loopholes. No amnesty or anything like that. But of course, the Democrats are universally opposed to it. And actually some Republican senators are opposed to it too because they like the cheap labor. It's both sides of the aisle, a little bit more on the Democrat side, of course. Well, a lot more on the Democrat side, but just enough on the Republican side to create that logjam you're talking about. I think they'll make an attempt at H.R. 2, bringing it forward again, but we'll see.
Todd, on your website, heritage.org, you all have a booklet titled 20 Ways States Can Prevent Illegal Immigration. Give us a few of the best ones.
Well, asylum fraud is probably the biggest problem. It's the biggest draw. You have people cross the border, say, I want asylum. There's a big, long backlog. They know it. We know it. Everybody knows that there's a backlog. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It's just about starting the process, and you get to come in and stay forever. So the asylum law embodied in the 1980 Refugee Act, for example, needs to be just tweaked a little bit. There's a couple of little things that need to happen in it that would, for example, make you ineligible to claim asylum if you already had it somewhere else, or if you passed through 5 countries that were perfectly safe and didn't claim asylum. That means you're asylum shopping. You didn't need asylum in the United States because you could have had it 5 countries ago. None of that is in the asylum law. They forgot to put that in. So, add a few sentences that would probably be the biggest fix right there. Fix the asylum law, make it so that most people will not be able to claim it because they pass through Mexico, which is a safe third country. Lots of asylum seekers there.
And Todd, how are we on funding for ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, Homeland Security in general? There was tons of arguments on that over the last year or so. The government was shut down over some components of that. I think we discussed with some of our other guests that was eventually funded for a number of years. But where are we on the status of the funding of these different departments of government, or can the Democrats use any of that as leverage over the next few years?
Well, the big, beautiful budget bill that passed last year, I believe it was in the fall, funds ICE and ICE operations at higher, more expansive levels than we've seen in many, many years. It's historic high levels. So that money is in the bank. It was approved by Congress. There were other kinds of funding that the Democrats held up, the stuff that, for support staff and, reimbursement for travel and that kind of stuff that is sort of the hinges and the inner workings of ICE that they withheld, and things kind of grinded to a halt there for a while until they, put it through in a reconciliation bill, which is highly unusual, not the normal way to do it, but doesn't require both chambers to get past the filibuster. So that's good all the way out to the next administration. So I think ICE is in good shape at this point.
Mm-hmm. And that is Todd Bensman, Senior Research Fellow for Border Security at the Immigration Center there at the Heritage Foundation at heritage.org. You can find him online at Bensman Todd on Twitter X. Todd, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon and explaining all this to us. We appreciate it and hope to have you back again soon sometime.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
That's Todd Bensman, heritage.org, heritage.org. Susie will be back with us next week. Everybody's on vacation cycles in July, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wow. We made it to the last segment on a Monday.
Quick show as always.
Nobody got hurt, indeed. It is 5:42 in the p.m. I don't know that I even asked you. What is in What is in our final segment?
Tim, Joey, if you guys have an extra $50 million lying around, I can tell you what you could have bought at an auction. It was a record sale, and I'll tell you what that is when we come back.
Extra 50 G.
Yeah.
Not 50 Gs.
No, 50 million.
50 M's.
Yeah.
50 M's, 50 million.
Extra $50 million. You could have spent your money on this.
Running around. And Larry Connors is going to tackle a very infamous story, Chris, at 6 p.m. this evening. We'll tell you what that is as well. 50 million?
50 million.
Larry Connors USA. You got so much to look forward to. Keep it right here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9. 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A First Alert weather day continues for Tuesday. Then we'll get sweet relief by Wednesday. So in the meantime, overnight, a low of 80 degrees. An isolated storm in the morning is possible. Very muggy, a hot high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. You may notice the humidity dropping a little bit later in the afternoon Tuesday, but we really get relief by Wednesday. A high of 83 degrees and partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hi, it's Ken. Vic Porcelli will be out one more day, but we'll be talking the concerns of energy and gasoline prices with Larry Behrens from Power the Future. He'll be hosting Tuesday starting at 9 a.m.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, let me ask you, is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? If it is, Royal Banks of Missouri, it's the kind of place you want on your side. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a rate and send you on your way. They actually walk you through the whole process. And that matters because there's no call center, there's no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you're already in your home and you've been thinking about making it better. Maybe a backyard upgrade, a patio, or finally taking the family on that trip you've been putting off. That's where a Royal Banks of Missouri home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. It's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. Give them a call today at 314-212-1500 or visit royalbanksofmo.com to get started. Royal Banks, Missouri, investing in our communities one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at pacificvets.com, pacificvets.com.
Have you heard those ads claiming Amendment 4 stops conservative amendments?
That's not true. It actually stops a couple big cities from pushing radical ideas into our Constitution. Remember 2024? Only 8 out of 114 counties voted to allow transgender surgeries on children.
That's terrifying. We can't let just a handful of counties rule the whole state.
Exactly. Amendment 4 requires broad statewide support and keeps foreign money out of our elections. Vote yes on 4 this August 4th.
Paid for by Freedom Principal MO, Missouri First PAC. Kate Sickles, Treasurer.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
New confusion on the cyclospora outbreak sickening thousands of people across the country. As one company, Taylor Farms, voluntarily recalls its iceberg lettuce in 27 states because of potential contamination. This weekend, the FDA, looking at whether there could be a larger outbreak, tested a lettuce sample from Taylor Farms not involved in the recall and said it found cyclospora, but overnight said that was a false positive and that no products have tested positive for the disease yet. The agency is now continuing to investigate the source of the outbreak.
5:48 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and I pray that I never get any of this stuff that is going around. This cyclospora, I'm hearing that it's just the absolute worst. You have the worst diarrhea that you've ever had in your life. And it's not for like a day or two. It's for weeks that you have this. And you also got to feel sorry for Taco Bell because
they got blamed for it.
It seems like every time you have a recall or people are getting sick, it's always Taco Bell for some reason. And they're already the butt of jokes anyway about that stuff. So it's like, yeah, I did do that, didn't I?
You did. But they were not. Did you hear today? The latest was it was not their fault.
Oh, well.
They got blamed unfairly. But the problem is now everybody thinks they did it.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. They were the recipient of it. Chris, this sounds like Montezuma's revenge on steroids.
Oh,
Horrible.
cyclospora. I mean, I have never even heard of this before until last week. And I don't want anything that's, I can't spell. I don't think I can spell cyclospora or what the hell it is. So.
I bet Dr. Randy Tolber can. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to him tomorrow. He can tell us how to strengthen our constitutions.
And it was originally in Michigan where the outbreak is, but I was reading in the Post-Disgrace this morning, Tim, that there are cases in Missouri.
Don't eat the shredded lettuce.
Don't eat the shredded lettuce. Tim, it's too late, but if I know you've got an extra $50 million laying around. Last week, a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton sold at auction for $50.1 million. Making it the most expensive dinosaur ever bought. The name of the skeleton is Gus. It is an exceptionally complete specimen with 61% of its bones remaining. It was found in South Dakota in 2021. It stands 12 feet tall and is estimated to be 67 million years old. The buyer is unknown, but a previously expensive dinosaur was called Apex. That's a Stegosaurus. Billionaire Keith Griffin bought it for $47 billion a few years ago. Can you imagine just having the type of money where it's like, yeah, I can spend $50 million on a skeleton. I have no idea where I'm going to keep it, but yeah, I'll buy it.
My parents told me there was no money in paleontology when I was a kid. Well, Mom and Dad, if I had discovered Gus, we'd all be retired and living in Florida. No, that was the joke growing up. I was a huge dinosaur kid, and even my dad, being a veterinarian, he was like, "No, I think you should go to law school instead." But that's really amazing. I bet the poor paleontologists who scraped and dug and were out in the I bet they get. I bet they're not going to see a dime of that.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. I guess it's all about science, so they turn it over to the museum.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah.
Dr. Alan Grant, Sam Neill, just died. How much are his bones? How much would it cost to buy Sam Neill's bones?
$1.75.
How much are your bones worth after you go?
Look, I thought I read somewhere that because we're all full of different chemicals and minerals and all that stuff, that if you took all of the minerals that are in our body, I think it's worth like $2.50
That's
or something.
it?
Yeah, it's not much.
All that
very
stuff
much.
we take and the magnesium and the zinc and the...
We're not worth very much.
So the T-Rex, because he's old, his bones are worth more. Humans, they're worth nothing. I could have swore it would cost me at least $100 to have Becky sell you your bones.
Our value is in our brains, the intellectual property. That's where the most expensive thing.
That's probably true.
Remember I was telling you guys last week about these mystery gas stations on the East Coast called Freedom Centers? No one knows who operates them, where they came from. President Trump announced it on his Truth Social, but didn't tell any details. Well, we're learning a little bit more, Tim.
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens senior special teams coach Randy Brown and a former commodities trader, Yanni Gatawanik, had signed the certificate of formation to incorporate the Freedom Fuels Network, LLC, on June 23rd, just a week before President Donald Trump announced it. So who would have thought being a special teams coach for a NFL team, you make that type of money where you can open gas stations.
And subsidize them.
Subsidize them, exactly.
Like, apparently pretty heavily.
I guess.
I'm not sure what's in it for them, but it kind of sounds like a losing proposition because you're dealing with a commodity known as oil, but I don't know. Maybe they've figured something out.
I'd like to learn more about this because it's like,
Joey may know.
Why did these guys decide to do this, or why were they chosen to be the front people for the Freedom Fuels Network?
They have to have 24-hour security, too, because there's people just dying to put those I did that stickers on every gas pump, and that's like their holy grail.
You have a point there. Hey, did you know that Christopher Nolan, of course, he is the director of the Odyssey blockbuster. Joy, he is famously resistant to new technologies in filmmaking. He describes himself as a techno-skeptic. He says he's still shooting film rather than digital. He doesn't use a smartphone. He says AI may be something you welcome in your life, but he warned it contains something darker, quote unquote, like the fake horse in the Iliad. But AI is coming for Hollywood, whether Norland likes it or not. Filings revealed Netflix paid $587 million a year to a Ben Affleck backup startup for using AI in production to fix, quote, missing shots, background replacements, or incorrect lighting.
Really?
As our resident movie critic, Joy, your thoughts on any of this? And did you know Ben Affleck had an AI business?
Yeah, I sure did. And it could be very productive for Netflix where you can go in and fix stuff. You use your own footage. It's not like you're stealing. You're using your own footage, and then it can generate maybe some extra B-roll. Great headline I saw is that Chris Nolan, the director of The Odyssey, also does not have a cell phone.
Really?
You have to call his wife, and then she has to, I don't know, send a pigeon over, and then he goes to the payphone over at the Warner Brothers lot, and then he calls you back.
Does he give a reason for that? He said he's a technology skeptic. Is that part of the reason? He just
doesn't want them tracking him all the time, I bet. You know, you got a little snitch in your pocket all the time.
He sounds like a conservative. He may be conservative.
Maybe a conspiracy theorist.
I think Bill Murray does the same thing. He's got a voicemail you have to call, and then whenever he gets home to Chicago, he checks it once every 6 months, and then he'll let you know if he wants to be in your movie.
That is strange that someone at his caliber does not own a cell phone.
That is wild.
Gabriel Perez, he is a close aide to President Trump. He's been Trump's teleprompter operator since 2016. He is facing CFTC allegations that he used insider knowledge to bet on the president's speeches on Kalshi. He made $100,000. The president got rid of him last week. Carolyn Levitt said that he is now on unpaid administrative leave. And she said Trump considers it a disgrace. How can you not think you're going to get caught if you are working the president's teleprompter and you're doing bets on Kalshi on what his speeches are going to say? I mean, is the money just so too easy and you just can't help yourself?
The reverse engineering on stuff these days is pretty easy apparently to perform. So you're going to be found out. We've seen it time and time and time again.
Here's a story, Tim. And U.S. school children's playtime has dwindled in recent years.
Oh, no.
And parents are campaigning to restore it. Says here's the U.S. Most children in school only have 20 minutes of play a day in school. Now, it's been a while since I was in elementary school and everything, but I remember that we had an hour
at least outside.
We had an hour for lunch and for recess, and of course we ate as quickly as we could so we could go outside. But that hour lasted forever. It didn't seem like you were out there for like a couple hours before recess was over. But now these kids have 20 minutes of recess a day. And we wonder why obesity is running rampant within our kids.
And why kids are so anxious and stuff. We used to have a break in the morning, right? We used to have like a mini recess in the morning. And then to your point, then you would have like an hour for lunch. And you would go eat. And then you'd go outside and you'd burn all that energy off. Get rid of all that sugar from all the Twinkies and the Ho-Hos you ate. And then you'd come back inside. I just think, I don't know. I think too many eggheads have gotten a hold of education. And they've put too much complexity into it. And it's not served our students well.
Well, remember, Michelle Obama changed the lunches, got rid of all the sweet stuff, and gave them bologna sandwiches. You know, the type of sandwiches you get when you're in prison.
Yeah.
You get bologna and a slice of bread. And
no fun.
Here you go, kids. Go out and learn. All right, great show today. Up next, of course, is Larry Connor's USA. And the story that Tim was talking about, that Larry's going to be talking about on the story behind the story, is Chappaquiddick. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Make sure you stay tuned to Larry Connor's USA. He is up next. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know, we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
And doesn't 4 also kill majority rule?
Yup, creates minority rule, where just 5% of the